It's been a year since I started my exploration into the city boy style, and so I'm very excited to be talking to you about it this spring. If you're new here, the city boy style is this Japanese reimagination of Western prep. That's putting it simply. There are a lot of different aspects to this. There is French and British workwear, traditional outdoors clothing, this US collegiate sports casual style, skater culture, different aspects of minimalism, a lot of military influence, and it is at this point an international style. People wear and gain inspiration from it all across the world. However, it does maintain its roots as a Japanese point of view on Western classics. Today I'm going to be talking about what I see for city boys this spring, what they might be wearing, what they might be buying. Last time I went into the military origins of the duffel coat for winter, obviously. This time I want to bring it back to some real city boy origins by talking about Ivy style. There's something I think that's very inherently preppy about spring. I don't know if it's just the color palette or the feeling about it. It's funny because it's not fall. You would think of fall as like back to school and therefore, has that school flavor, but I really think Ivy is going to be it for this spring. I did cover this in the very first installment of this series, but if you don't remember, one of the foundational moments for the City Boy style was the publication of this book, Take Ivy. It was published in 1965 and it documented this American Ivy style that was found on college campuses at the time. If you want to learn more about the creation of that book, you can listen to the podcast Articles of Interest, American Ivy. I just want to say it myself before I get a bunch of comments about it because I always get people telling me to listen to it. I started in podcasting. I've worked in the podcasting industry for like 10 years, okay? I've had a crush on Avery Trufelman before you were even born. You do not need to tell me to listen to Articles of Interest. But you should if you haven't, and I do suggest it. It's great. The American Ivy style has been interpreted by many different communities. If you're looking for another perspective, I would recommend Black Ivy, A Revolt in Style, which is a book by Graham Marsh and Jason Jules. It focuses on Black men who wore the style in the civil rights era. Super interesting. I'm hoping to get my hands on it soon. But let's get into some inspiration and some hot items. I have been looking at Japanese magazines, some of my favorite fashionistas, certain brands, like Drake's just put out a spring transitional lookbook. They're obviously not Japanese, but I find this style is sort of recursive, like it builds on itself. So the Japanese will reinterpret this Western prep style, and then the British will look at what the Japanese are doing with their style and then sort of do it themselves. So it just goes back and forth and back and forth, and I really enjoy that about it. And there's a YouTube channel I like, How Much Is Your Outfit in Tokyo? And they focus on street style. I do find that they interview a very specific subset of people. It's like young and hip, and I wish they had a broader range of ages. But I do think it's interesting because you can see that even though a lot of the people they talk to don't really do a preppy style at all, they'll take like one element from the style and incorporate it. So like I was seeing some people wear duffel coats on that channel for winter, or people will wear khakis, or they'll wear military pants or a bomber jacket. They still have these specific elements of the style, even if they're not going whole hog. And then, of course, I'm just referencing myself and what I've been into and what I think I would like to wear this spring. We're going back to, as I said, this real foundational point for the city boy style, this US collegiate vibe. So one of the reasons that the Japanese were so interested in this style that they were seeing on American campuses is because there was this specific transitional point in the late 50s, early 60s, where these young people were taking the sort of traditional and maybe stuffy outfits of their parents and what they were expected to wear, because I'm sure a lot of these kids also came from prep schools if they were going to Ivy Leagues at the time. And they were taking these traditional silhouettes, these traditional items, and mixing them with more casual sportswear because a lot of them played sports. They did rugby or polo or I don't know what else sort of posh things American Ivy students were doing in the 60s. Like crew, football, soccer. Anyway, you get the idea. So we're going to be talking about this mix, the preppy style that you would find on a college campus, plus the sport items that they were wearing with them. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the rugby shirt, the sort of long sleeve polo. And I know for a fact that these are going to be big this spring because there's been a marketing push behind it. Kotn, this company, which I really like, has been sending their rugby shirt out to influencers. So if you've been seeing an uptick in rugby shirts, that's why. I received one as well. I really like it. It's cute and comfortable. And Polo Ralph Lauren is also pretty well known for rugby shirts. I mean, of course, they're all over this preppy style. That doesn't need to be said. But I also have been thinking about stripes in general. Stripes, listen, not a trend, not a new thing, but stripes for spring, Yeah, it's happening. And mixed stripes, especially, I'm seeing a lot of editorials where people are mixing stripes. I wanted to very, very quickly give you a stripes guide. So if you're looking for a particular type of stripe, you can find the right one. The Breton stripe is probably the most popular. It's that sort of maritime looking French British stripe. I personally like a striped button down, so there's the Oxford stripe or the banker stripe. The Rugby stripe, which I just mentioned, another one that I've been seeing a lot, particularly in the April edition of Popeye, is the hickory stripe, which you'll see most often on blazers. And then one particular thing that's been on my mind, I don't know if it's entered subliminally, I couldn't tell you where I saw it, but it's something that I've been thinking about, is I really like those striped watch bands. They're usually, I think, just made out of like polyester. But yeah, I really like that watch with a striped band look. It's sort of casual, it's like probably the most casual you can get, but it's nice. It's like a little pop of interest on the wrist. So you're going to be seeing a lot of rugby shirts and all sorts of other stripes. I mean, I love a stripe. I really, really can't complain. The other thing, of course, spring is known for is that it's light jacket season. I love light jackets. I'm a real sucker for them. I don't know why. I will always buy many more than I really have time to wear because, this time of year, it really doesn't last that long. Most of the year is summer or winter, unfortunately. But light jackets. The number one scholastic style light jacket is going to be a varsity jacket or a letterman jacket. I have one I love to death. It's an original 1969, I think, tennis jacket, and it's made out of wool. It's like a nice blue color. I just got it off of eBay, maybe for like $40 or $50. The thing, I was looking actually at the jackets I got when I was like a varsity, volleyball player in high school, and the quality is so bad. It's like the worst polyester you can imagine. But you can find these vintage varsity and letterman jackets that have lasted for decades and decades secondhand, which is really such a shame because I didn't even want to wear mine from high school. And now they're just sitting in my parents' house, like collecting dust. I'm not even going to talk about like where to buy them. You should just buy them secondhand. You should buy them vintage. They're cooler vintage. There's a million of them available online. Buy them vintage. On the flip side, the more preppy version of a varsity jacket would have to be the blue blazer. Very classic look for a prep school. The blazer itself, I did look into the history a little bit. It seems like there's two general ideas about how even like the etymology of the blazer came about. One theory does have to do with the British military. It's like there was the HMS Blazer that had everyone wear this blue jacket, and then the Queen liked it so much, so then they made it the official Navy uniform, and then there's people arguing about when there actually was an official Navy uniform, etc., etc. All things lead back to the military, unfortunately, as I keep finding. The HMS blazer was apparently that classic double-breasted look, but there was actually another blazer about 10 years prior in 1825. I like this story a little bit better just because it, again, is a little bit more collegiate, but apparently 12 members of St. John's College founded the first college boat club in Cambridge and named it the Lady Margaret Club. They apparently wore red flannel jackets, which I guess were supposed to blaze because they're red and that looks like a fire. But either way, I don't think we have any written documentation of the word blazer being used in this context until like 1889. This stuff is not super important, but it is always fun to look into. Anyway, so the type of blazer I've actually been interested in for a couple years now, though I don't own one myself, is the sort of unstructured look for jackets, which is really popular nowadays because it gives a casualness that I think people complain about how casual our dress has gotten in general. I don't mind it, to each their own, but it is obviously the most casual form of a blazer. The two main ways I've seen to describe this jacket is, like I said, unstructured blazer. I've also seen sack jacket, which has its own history behind what a sack jacket is, but I've seen that used for this style. You can find these sold all over. I do think there's something particularly Japanese about it to me. I don't know if it's just the sort of like relaxed, slouchy, slightly oversized silhouette. I found a couple of Japanese brands. So you have Foundour and Soph Net, which I both found from this edition of Popeye. And I also recently learned about Cassidy Homegrown. I couldn't find that much information about it, but Cassidy apparently is a select store. A select store is I guess we say the same thing in English, but it's essentially like a boutique shop that carries a bunch of different brands, and they're very well known in Japan as like a type of store. Cassidy was started by Hiroyuki Yagisawa, who is apparently a Tokyo menswear legend. So they now, I guess, have their own label, Cassidy Homegrown, very cute. They have some of those jackets. And Nanamica, also a Japanese brand, I think of as very much owning this style, this sort of almost like sporty suit style. Also, I didn't know this. I don't know if it's new or not, but Essence seems to be selling Beams Plus. Maybe they always were. I just noticed recently, and they have a couple on their site. I personally have always wanted either a Yohji Yamamoto one or Comme des Garçons, so I have been looking on eBay, and you know, the search terms on eBay can be a little hit or miss, and they're not always navy. Obviously, you can get one of these unstructured jackets in any color that pleases you. But one thing I would say is I'm really drawn to the ones that are like a linen blend. I think it just adds to the style to have that sort of wrinkly, almost like, what's the word? It's just like, it's slouched, right? It just like, it can't even stand up straight by itself. There's nothing holding that jacket up. And I think linen really obviously lends to that. For other types of lighter jackets, obviously denim jackets, I'm not going to talk about that too much because that's not the point of this video. This video is supposed to be about, you know, these classic prep collegiate items. But yeah, I really like the type 2. I'm still trying to learn the types. I said a couple videos ago that I don't know the types of denim jackets. It's like type 1, 2, and 3. I think I like type 2 because every time I see a jacket and think, oh, I like that one, I look at it and realize it's type 2. So I'm learning. And then, of course, the trench coat. Again, not going to go whole hog into trench coats. You know, everyone knows spring is trench coat season. I did recently get one gifted from Sezane, which is nice. It is probably the most famous one that you see all the time. It has that sort of check or plaid interior that you'll see all the girlies wearing. And then the other one that I have that I actually really like, I got at a secondhand store in Japan, and I believe it's from United Arrows Youth and Beauty. Oh, maybe it's Beauty and Youth. It's really confusing because the tag, I had to like really Google it to figure out where it was from. It's just like a big H and a black box. So anyway, Beauty and Youth. United Arrows is like, I would say, the main sort of Beams competitor in my mind. Maybe that's not right, but those are the two stores I see all the time that are sort of in the same price range and style, Beams and United Arrows. The other thing I want to briefly talk about are khakis. I've been trying to get into khakis since last year when I sort of started talking about the city boy style because they're so ubiquitous. And I feel like in the same way that boat shoes were sort of lame and nerdy and then have come back in style, khakis, I think, have done the same thing. My personal taste in khakis is always going to be some that have a little bit of something different to them. Because if you just get like a very classic kind of straight leg pair of khakis, then yeah, you're risking looking like you're wearing a uniform. My favorite pair of khakis, I'm actually wearing them right now. I can show you. They are from Comme des Garçons shirt, which is cheaper, I guess. They're hard to see from this angle, but I showed them off in my Paris shopping haul. And I think the thing to keep in mind is that even though I'm wearing a white button down and a pair of khakis, the only reason that they don't look super stuffy or like a uniform is because of the shape, right? I don't have a sort of slim fit white shirt tucked into a straight leg pair of khakis with a belt. Everything is sort of a little bit more flowy, a little bit more structural. These khakis have a little bit of a wide shape on top and then they taper down and they're also cropped. So there are a lot of things that make them look not like a pair of uniform khakis. You can obviously get khakis at a lot of different places. I would suggest about even a blazer or a white button up, when you buy these things that are really classic items, I really think fit is going to be the most important. So it is ideal to try them on in person. Otherwise, yeah, you can get them at Orslow, you can get them at Todd Snyder, you can get them at Graphpaper probably, Nanamica, and Nanamica definitely secondhand. I bet there are some. Bronson MFG has 1930s Ivy style double pleated chino trousers in khaki. That sounds good. I think what will be most helpful is if people actually drop their favorite khakis, where they got them from, in the comments, and then we can all sort of figure it out there because there's just so many options and everybody prefers a different style. So, you know what? Let's take it to the comments. You'll also find Beams. Beams makes a lot of khakis, and you can find those secondhand as well. And the last but possibly preppiest thing that I haven't mentioned are ties. Guys are wearing ties, I'm wearing ties. The thing about a tie, and this just might be a personal thing, obviously, I didn't grow up having to wear ties to formal events, so my relationship with them is possibly a little bit different than a lot of other people's. But my feeling about ties is that you should accumulate them naturally, sort of in the same way I think about baseball caps. Like, I think baseball caps, you should sort of just be out in the world and then you like sort of get a baseball cap from an event or you see one at a secondhand store sort of randomly. Like, I don't know, they should just be not acquired with so much intention. And that's how I feel about ties. All my ties are secondhand, or I got them from a friend or a partner or my mom, or you just accumulate ties. That's how I feel about it. There should be like a certain, I don't know, spontaneity to how you get a tie. But yeah, that's how I think about ties, so I'm not going to be prescriptive about them at all. I am still seeing those square knit ones. In some ways, I thought those were out of style, and then I got a black sort of square knit one, and then I saw my friend Denny's style one, and I don't know if they're back or they just never left or whatever, but I have been seeing those, and I kind of thought they were like going to go away forever, but they're not. They're still around. So enjoy your ties, however you got them, whatever they are. I think it's a very personal decision what sort of tie you want to wear. A little bit of personal news. I am getting married next month, which I've mentioned here or there a lot more if you follow me on Instagram. And then I'm going to be going on a honeymoon. Our honeymoon is going to be 2 months in Japan. No one is surprised, but here we are. I am going to be taking some time off, obviously, but I'm also going to be hopefully making a ton of content for you guys while I'm there. So please let me know if there's anything particular that you're interested in. I have a couple of ideas already percolating, like the hunt for a vintage store that's not American vintage. Does that exist in Japan? I'd love to see if I can find one. I looked online and no one seemed to have the answers, so I'll do my own research, but I have a ton of shops I want to visit. I have a ton of topics that I'm thinking about covering, but of course I would like to hear what you guys would be interested in seeing. We will be there for 2 months, so that's very exciting, and we're very blessed to be able to do that. The only thing I can say is I would suggest not doing a registry and just doing a honeymoon fund. That will make your honeymoon go for longer than usual. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't joined my Patreon, join my Patreon. Information will be below in the description, and have a great week.